Talk. Hi there. So I'm Sandra Parker, and today I'm joined by the fabulous Jo. Hi, Jo.
Hi.
So we're going to talk about Jo's journey from before we started working together to where you're at now. So first of all, welcome, Jo, and thank you so much for volunteering to do this interview. It's going to be amazing. So let's go back to the last year. It doesn't really feel like that long ago. Around October time when we first started.
Yeah, we spoke. It was the beginning of October we spoke. Yes.
Right. So tell us about how, before we started working together, so before you'd done the Just a Tonic program, how much were you drinking and what sort of problems was it causing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd got to the stage of the norm being 2 bottles a day. My favorite tip at that stage was kava because I was on keto, trying to lose weight, thinking that, forgetting the alcohol content, thinking that the kava would make it be less calories and less sugar. So I was drinking about 2 bottles a day, kava, and that spanned at any time during the day, really. I would pick my daughter up from school. My habit would, I'd get home and I'd start cooking dinner and then I'd start drinking. I wasn't up all hours because I would always go to bed quite early or pass out. But yeah, I was 2 bottles a day. At the weekends, it got to a point where this is probably one of my biggest concerns, where I would wake up the next day and sometimes feel so awful that I'd actually start earlier during the day as well.
So when you think back about what that felt like, what sort of impact was it having on you?
Do you know what? And I think I'd have said this on the call. It became normal. And this is the scary part of it. You kind of think, well, I'm surviving, I'm functioning. I was getting up each day. I obviously and clearly can see it now, had this big black cloud over me, but from the outside, I would have looked perfectly functioning around my own business. I was a single mum. You know, I was almost held in accolade for how well I was achieving in my life. I think behind closed doors, my life was, tied to the bottle, and it just became what I did. And I was clearly pretty depressed, down, tired, didn't sleep. I had the classic wake up in the middle of the night every night, cursing myself, telling myself I had to change, reading something online to try and make myself believe I wouldn't do it the next day, and then it would happen again and again. And I was just in this cycle. And I think I probably said it on the call. I knew that though I started to feel the norm, because my tolerance clearly was so high, I knew the impact. I wasn't silly. I knew the science. So I knew if I didn't stop, I was hurting my body. I was hurting my relationship with my daughter. I was hurting my health. And I honestly thought, I'd die if I didn't stop what I was doing. But the scary part is I didn't stop, and I didn't know how to stop. Hence why I called you.
Yeah, I understand. And that, like what a difference, right? So
I know. Yeah.
So what was it that actually prompted you to make the call? Was it like, for some people it's like they've just had enough, and some people something happens and they think, right, that's it. What was it for you?
I think I got to the stage, and I think anybody does when they get to that stage, like that, I knew it wasn't doing anything for me, but I didn't know I couldn't stop it because I completely saw it as my crutch and as my friend. And I remember I was still going to the gym all the time, and I'd been to the gym. I was walking around the playground next to the gym, and I saw your advert come up on Facebook. It came up, and I clicked on it, and I remember it saying about, not using willpower to give up. And I'd previously stopped smoking in another life, and I'd done something similar around that. But I was like, well, this is so different. But I watched your 45-minute, what's it called? The
Webinar.
Presentation. Yeah. I watched that, walking around the gym field, and it gave me so much hope. And I was like, well, this is, almost sounds too good to be true. How can, if I do this course, will this actually, take away all this pain, give me my life back that I know I am ruining, and my health, and give Maggie the mum she deserves. So I watched it, and then from there, right through the link, I clicked through, and obviously had the call with yourself.
And so, it's a big decision to make, right? It's that kind of I think if we all go through that, is this going to work for me? right? So we had the conversation. I remember the call with you. How did it feel? Like, were you like when you signed up, were you excited? Were you nervous?
Oh, I'll come to that. I mean, I was petrified. I mean, I think you remember me talking to me. It was an investment in my life. I'm not great at failure. I know how stubborn and, and strong I am as a strong-willed individual. So you want to believe it, but you then you have this dichotomy in your head going, yeah, but can this really work? And, if I do this and I fail, I'm going to feel even worse, because then I thought, there's no other option. So I think, I do remember you saying get excited, and I remember being the quite passionate, excited person I was, but I had all this trepidation inside going, yeah, but really, is this really going to work? And you do have that slight or even more anxiety than I had already of going, if I make this commitment and I don't do it, what's the next answer? I didn't, though I knew I drank a lot, I didn't want to label myself as an alcoholic. I didn't believe I was. However, I remember some of the questions you were asking me around kind of my habits, and me going, yeah, but I'm fine. And you saying, okay, you're saying this to yourself now, all these things. I could feel like going, yeah, she's right. And I think I took the leap of faith. And I think on that call, of course, I had kind of apprehension and I was concerned, but I knew I had to do something. And I felt like this was I didn't want to go to AA. I knew my willpower methods weren't working. I'd done a bit of reading that hadn't worked. So I think I just turned my belief on, I guess. And yeah.
Fantastic. So then you joined, and I remember like just after you joined, you were going to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So we spoke about giving you a bit of support in the beginning, but making sure that you wouldn't miss out with your holiday, because that was like one of your concerns. So I remember like a kind of pivotal moment when you got back from Sri Lanka. I think you had a conversation with Annette. So how that was that quite different? So you planned, you're like, I'm going to do this program and I'm going to get control over alcohol. Like in your mind, was it, but I'll still enjoy my holiday in Sri Lanka and I'll do it when I come back?
I don't know if I knew what I was planning. In my head was, right, I'm doing this now. And I am quite a committed person. I'm like, right, I'm all in. And then I went to Sri Lanka. And I remember even having that conversation to you. You're like, well, just try not to drink on the plane. And I was like, well, I always drink on the plane. But I managed to achieve that. And then I got to Sri Lanka and I was doing the modules the first few days. And then I think I overwhelmed myself, if I'm honest, because I was traveling around, moving like every 2 or 3 days on safari. I was going to visit people. It was quite a full-on holiday. So what I did do is I reduced massively during the time I was there, and I drank mindfully, most definitely. I mean, I probably drank a quarter of what I would have drunk normally when I was there, and I had alcohol-free days. But Maggie also got hand, foot, and mouth whilst we were there, and that everything took over. So I think when I came back, I was a bit depleted, and I was a bit like, well, I haven't achieved this straight away. However, truly and honestly, I hadn't done the work whilst I was there. And by the work, I just mean actually making the time to journal and to listen to the modules. So when I got back, I think I did a classic, what do we all do when we're disappointed and down, when your mindset is still in that place? I had a massive blowout, sat down for the day. Maggie went to see her dad, and I drank 2 bottles of Carver and thought my life was over. I think I sent this to you. I think you were in America. Annette was around, and I had a call with Annette the next day. And yeah, a pivotal moment, which I probably can't really articulate why, but I think Annette, just said, it's okay. Almost, it's not your fault, as it goes through at the beginning in the modules. And I think she kind of said, you are currently, your mindset is still attached to this drug and you are still focused on it. She told me her story. She gave me that encouragement that she'd been where I was. And I think she was, believe in the process, just reset yourself. You've done this, you can't change it. So tomorrow's a new day. And just, I think it just clicked and went, stop beating yourself up, give yourself a chance. And the next day I got up and I've never drunk since. And I think, it makes me emotional, everybody makes me emotional. I think I just started to believe a little bit that, this process has worked, and I listened to the advice and I listened to Annette, and she was a great role model. And I said, right, I'm going to go all in. And I was.
That's so lovely. I mean, I just remember you being all in, right? Like your enthusiasm and like asking questions and like, you know, like fitting in journaling and doing the different parts
Yeah.
and being massively enthusiastic. Like when you think back to those like early weeks, what point, like how did you, so you sort of had the blowout and you're like, right, I'm going to give this a go. At
Yeah.
what point did it start feeling to you like this is going to work?
Well, I mean, obviously, the first few days of going alcohol free with this new mindset it was constantly in my head all the time when you drink. But I started to kind of listen to that voice a bit, and I started to question the voice a little bit, I think. And I started to do the modules each day. And I think you just get that little bit of a boost from it, that when you're in the early stages going, how on earth can this work? I started to believe a little bit. And I think I was so focused before on how much I drank. And like, well, I drink so much, if I could just reduce a bit less, and I'd never started to focus on why I drank. And I think quite early on in the modules, you start to write the why. And though I hadn't started to unpick that until later on through the program, I started to kind of question the illusion almost. And I started to think about the why I drank. And I knew the health benefits. It was great to reaffirm it for me, but it was actually starting to see alcohol for what it was. Like, I genuinely in my mind started to see it as this poison. I started to understand it as this highly addictive drug, and no wonder why this relentless person I am was very good at doing it, because I kind of really focused on it. And I think just as time went by, you get these small wins and you start to believe in it. And then when the voice in your head starts saying, oh, you want to drink, you go, well, why? What's it going to give you? And I started to almost sit with it and play it forward, as Siobhan would often say. And I think once that starts to happen, you'll get excited bit starts to come in, and then that really builds the momentum within you. And you do at the beginning go, I've done 5 days alcohol free. How have I achieved this? And that just builds you on to want to do more. And then you start to learn more, and it starts to just reaffirm in your head, and you think, actually, this is clicking. And then I think from that point, you believe in the process. The group is phenomenal. And I think at first you have this, why am I doing group coaching? You know, I've paid to have this course. Why is it not a one-on-one with me? You know, and then you realize how much you get from the group, because not only the support and the encouragement, and when you feel down or you have a question, they're there. You also learn from everything else they're asking, because sometimes you don't know what you want to know. And I think you start to learn, someone else asks a question, you're like, oh my God, that clicks for me. So you start to get another part in the brain, the subconscious work that you're doing starts to just click in. And also, and I think I've said this, responding to, you're right, I was very articulate in the group. I was always writing for others, but it gave me so much. I wasn't just doing it for them, I was doing it for me, because you then start to have to write down your reasonings behind why your beliefs are changing and the mindset. And when you're starting to give advice to others, you're like, wow, yeah, I get this. And it really does work on the mindset change. And I think I really could feel it just building and building.
Yeah, fantastic. And then and thinking about the one-to-ones as well, because I know that you talked about the one-to-one with Annette and also with Jodie on the mindset work, and then you and I done the beat technique. Like what difference did they make, do you think?
Well, they're massive, and I think they're spaced so cleverly that you have them when you want them. Yeah, but for me, initially you kind of, again, you don't know what you want to ask. You don't really, I didn't anyway. My brain was still quite jumbled. Yeah, it was still quite hazy. I was, unpicking 20 years in there, and I also had quite a haze over me from the alcohol. So as time went on, having those opportunities, and I would write down questions, and I did put the time in to make sure I was prepared for those calls, because I wanted to get the most out of them. But it just gives you this massive extra boost, and it gives you more focus, and the bits which were pertinent to me and my life, because all our lives are different, right? You could really home in on those one-to-ones. So it was the perfect balance for me.
Yeah, fantastic. And then the group, like you were such a great, you were so all in with the group. I loved reading your messages, like, when people, like I would read the questions that you had for me, and it's like, right, Jo's really thinking about this and she really cares about it and she's trying to just trying to fit it in. So that was that difficult for you to, you know, because you're obviously like busy, you've got your own business and your daughter. Was it difficult to make the time, or how did you manage it?
It's how you prioritize in life, isn't it? This to me was life change. What I was doing was removing something I never thought I could. So I did make it a priority, but it's you fit it around your life. That's the wonder of it being within a chat, because you don't have to be there immediately at a time. When I was working, I was working. When I was with Maggie, I was working. But then you can sit down and you can read that. And you can engage, and it's lovely to be surrounded by people that you're not having to justify why you're doing this. Everyone wants to do it. We're all in different places, all at different levels of drinking, all of different reasons, but we all have a common goal. So yeah, it was just so inspirational. It was so motivational to me. And then you want to give back. And then you feel like you're in complete trust with these people, and you can start to show your personality, and no one's going to judge you. And that's quite hard to find, even in really close friendship groups, especially if you're, you know, you're never sure if you say something, how others are going to react. Here, it had no judgment. You had only support, which, you know, brought a really strong bond. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I fitted it around my life. You know, some days I didn't post anything. Most days I did. And that was important for me to keep me accountable, but also, you know, keep me engaged, keep the excitement, and keep moving through.
Yeah, fantastic. And so when you think back to October, like what are the big alcohol-free firsts that you've experienced?
Well, quite a lot since then. Obviously holiday, not that one, another one, but then also Christmas. Social events, you know, I'm in that era of a 6-year-old yummy mummy playground, you know, that kind of manipulating how I do all of those, where everyone's sitting around drinking wine, and, you know, the kids are running around, and, you know, I've hosted those. So I hosted quite a few of those for my friends, and I am a fan of having alcohol-free Prosecco. And I'm choosing with the glass with them as well. They've got ethanol in theirs. I haven't. There's absolutely no difference to me. Psychologically, I'm still part of the occasion. Also, being part of those occasions, before I was so focused on drinking that I wasn't engaging, I wasn't listening, I wasn't doing that. And now I find myself funnier as well. I think because once you kind of less slurry and less, you kind of a bit more quick-witted. But yeah, so I've done those, which were big for me. I said Christmas, obviously. I've been to the races. I've done loads of things, and all of them, I asked the infamous question: would alcohol improve this experience? And it wouldn't. And you silently sit there, and you get this little kind of buzz inside, and you wake up the next morning, especially with young children. And you know, my friends now are starting to go, "You're not drinking still?" I'm like, "No." I said, "I can if I want, but I just don't want to today." And you kind of just get there like, oh, and you know, the next day they're all feeling awful, and it gives you that additional motivation. You still, because it's so programmed in you, you still have those times where you go, oh, I drink now. And I think the first thing is really important, like you say, because once you've done it once, your programming stop. It doesn't do that as quickly. Sometimes I still sit there and I go, oh, I'd be drinking now. I'm like, oh, but I'm not. And the upgraded reward thing, I am an ice cream fan, like Siobhan. Maggie and I have been through a different type, every ice cream bar you can think of under the sun. It's been our little thing. So yeah, sometimes I use that as an upgraded reward. Sometimes I go do some yoga. Sometimes I ring a friend, which I wouldn't have done in the evenings before, because I'd have been passed out slouched on the sofa, and I engage with them. So I think, yeah, many firsts, but you know, the biggest one for me was just that, you know, habitual thing of every day, just coming home, opening the fridge, and it was just what I did. So that one has disappeared. And the social engagements, as I said, there's still more to come. I've got a festival coming up, which will be interesting, which everyone's going, but you're going to drink there. And I'm like, well, I can if I want, but I don't think I'm going to want to. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And then, you know, I know that you're such a devoted mother. Like, what difference has it made to your relationship with Maggie since you stopped drinking?
Just, you know, I was always a morning person, but I'm a different morning person now. As you know, Maggie and I like to dance in the morning now. We have fun. I'm just more engaging with her. I've restructured my life, because before I would sit actually here, and in the evenings with a glass of wine here, and I'd be working, and I'd let her be off. This sounds awful, but it's honest. Doing her own thing a little bit, because I was working. well, actually, I can fit all that in my mornings now because I'm up and alive, and I can therefore make the time to be engaging with her, to go in the car. I know everyone says it. I said this in one of the groups, but I bought a car a year ago nearly, because I thought it would stop me drinking, because I'd go, well, if I had a car, I'd have to go somewhere and do. I live in London. I don't really need a car. I've just bought a little mini secondhand, but it sat outside the majority of the time, because the reality is yes, most evenings I'd had a drink, or at the weekend, so we couldn't. Now we just go off and do things in the car. I go cold water swimming. It's my big thing now, and she comes with me sometimes and sits alone. But we just go off places and visit people, and I couldn't do that before. And at night time, we would do bedtime stories, but I was the classic mum. I'd rush through that bedtime story because I wanted to get back to my wine. And now we have like a gorgeous 30 minutes in her bed where we read a story, her book, my book. We have a little chat. We read her mural on the wall. Yeah, I'm just happy.
Wow.
And it really is. I'm the mum I expected to be. I think it was one of the biggest things in my head, knowing not only was I running the risk of her genuinely not having a mum around, or my health depleting quite quickly, but I also wasn't giving her the best of me. The fun, authentic me really has come back. I'm lighter, I'm brighter, I'm engaging, and she gets all of that, as do her friends. My friends love me because I'm like, I'll have all the kids, bring them over. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Do you feel proud of yourself, Jo?
Massively, yeah. I'm not afraid to say that. I am proud. I mean, people ask me about it all the time because it was such an inherent part of me, right? Everyone's like, you're not drinking. Like, I'm seeing my uni friends next Friday night, and I haven't seen them. They don't know, and they're gonna be like, what? We're going out for dinner. But I'm very proud. And I'm proud of, what I've achieved, how I achieved it, and actually how I feel. Yeah, I am. I'm buzzing, and I'm quite happy to share that.
Oh, that's brilliant. And then if you went back to yourself like pre-October,
Yeah.
what, like, that person, if someone was watching this and they were like, oh, I can really relate to Jo, that sounds like my life, that when you were like nervous, I guess it took a bit of courage to watch the webinar, then to book a call, then to invest in this. What would you say to someone that's resonating, that's scared, say, or thinking it's not going to work for me?
I'd say just do it. And we all believe with that person something isn't going to work for. And if you believe in yourself and you value yourself enough, you will have probably tried other options, and you'll have probably tried other things to do. And I was that person, and I tried willpower, and I'd beaten myself up, and I was in a really low place. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. And I'm sure if you feel like that, you feel like, well, nothing's going to work. Believe in it, try it, because you can get your life back. And I think you do need to put the work in, but it's 10-15 minutes of your day, and what you get back is you reap the rewards from it. So don't think you're the only one that it's not going to work for, because that was me, and I was drinking 2 bottles a day, if not more, and I was strong-willed as they come, and I was doing really well in my life on the surface, but I was hating myself inside. And you deserve the chance to try and give yourself your life back, get your essence back, get the real you back, because it's worth every penny.
Oh, that's fabulous. One last thing I want to ask you, and so people that are not in the group are probably not aware of this, but one of the things we do at the beginning is I ask everyone to take a selfie, because I know that they look different. And when I done this work, when I was learning about this myself, I was amazed at how much alcohol impacted like every area of our lives. And one of the things I learned was it impact like your hair, right? And I know like people like your skin and your hair, like, so we take a selfie so that we can see the difference. And Jo, when you shared your picture, your hair looked completely different. How does it like did you notice the differences yourself?
Sorry, I've just come back from the gym. It's not at its best. My hair was the biggest one for me. I mean, my hair was brittle, and I mean, I look at it now. I mean, I could not look in the mirror before. Now I love looking in the mirror. It's really sad, because I feel that difference. I mean, my hair has just got softer, thicker, bigger. I mean, it's completely different. And my skin, I've lost 10 pounds in 3 months, and trust me, I've been eating anything I like. And and I've also lost more. The inflammation from my face, I can really notice
Yeah.
in my body. But yeah, and that's just in 3 months, with really being lax on allowing myself to eat what I like during the process. I mean, I do exercise and stuff like that, but now I can exercise more. Now the silly things like balance, when you kind of have to do your leg stretches, and I can balance so much better. But I enjoy my exercise so much more. But yeah, the benefits, you know, we all want to look good, right? It's obviously there's deeper health issues, but the looking good part only adds to the feeling great. And it gives you, when you look in the mirror each day, and you actually will look in the mirror and you realize the difference it's having to your eyes, to your skin, to your hair, everything. It's great.
Fantastic. And then last question, so we're also going to share this with some of the people in Just a Tonic at the moment that are in the first month. What would you, you know, that stage at the beginning where it's all quite new and you're worried, is this going to work for me? What would you say to those people?
Just believe in yourself, believe in the process, do the work. You know, you're going to have questions. It's not linear. You're going to go through stages where you have doubt or you think you might fail. Just every day, do that time, that 10 minutes, do your journaling, and it will feel easier. I remember that confusion at the beginning. I remember feeling like all these people are ahead of me. Well, they might have been able to do it, but I won't. They're not me. I am different. You're not different. If you put the work in, your mindset will start to change. You will realize the illusion, and it takes time. And we didn't all do it at the same time in our group. You know, some people were all in day one. Some people drank up until they did the breakthrough. Some people still questioned up until the breakthrough. So don't worry if other people are in a different place, but keep your mindset positive. You know, that if you think you can, comment. I really believe in that. And if you really start to believe you can do it, you will.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jo. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.